This episode of the Quit Your 9 to 5 podcast is brought to you by Quit Your 9 to 5 Academy. Want to finally divorce your boring dead-end day job and start a business doing what you love full time? Enroll in the Quit Your 9 to 5 Academy today and get access to training courses, live calls, live coaching, accountability partners, case studies, and join a community of other entrepreneurs on the grind who are ready to make 2016 their last year at their 9 to 5. Just visit quityour9to5academy.com for more details.
Are you ready to quit your 9 to 5 and pursue your passion full time? We'll show you how. Create a business doing what you love. You're listening to the Quit Your 9 to 5 podcast with your hosts, Tamisha and Damian Duncan.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Quit Your 9 to 5 podcast show. I am Tamisha Duncan, and my other half, Damian, will be joining us a little later today. So guys, I am so super excited because today we are interviewing one of my business besties. I absolutely love this woman. She is a phenomenal woman, amazing brand stylist. I'm talking about the beautiful and talented Britney Jeanine. I know you guys have seen her work and you probably don't even know it. People that she's branded, websites that she's done, her amazing work splashed across Instagram. And I mean, she's just all that and a bag of chips. Can you even say that now? Or is that old school? Am I dating myself? Anyway, you guys, Britney is amazing. Britney and I met last year sometime, and it was just by us really admiring each other's work on social media and connecting with each other. And that's what I love so much about her, because she's not afraid to step outside the box. She's not afraid to support other women in their business and their careers. And so I felt like it was extremely important for me to get Britney on this podcast with you guys, because she has an amazing story that I think that a lot of people need to hear. And Britney gets really, really personal with us and sharing her story of how she made the decision to finally leave her 9 to 5 and the fears and the challenges that she had to overcome. Most importantly, how that decision impacted her life now. So I want you guys to pay close attention, because this is definitely going to be inspiration for you as you go along in your own personal journeys to quit your 9 to 5. So without further ado, I am going to get started with my girl, Britney Jeanine. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really, really, really appreciate it. The husband is out with the plumber somewhere, so he'll pop in and out as we continue to talk. But I just, this was very important for me, because as somebody who quit their job to pursue their dreams, there's so many people out there, as you know, that, they want to do it, but they're scared. And so hearing other people's stories and how they've done it really inspires them to kind of be like, all right, if she did it, and people that look like us, people that are us, that people can relate to, you know what I'm saying?
I get
and
that.
that's why
for sure.
I felt like this part was so important for people to hear other people's experiences. So first of all, thank you so much. So first of all, tell the good people out there who the amazing Britney Jeanine is and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm Britney Jeanine, as she said. I am a brand stylist and photographer. I really shy away from titles. I just get weird about titles sometimes. I don't know what that is about, but that's just how I am. But ultimately, I build banging brands. I'm the banging brand builder. And so what that encompasses is really web design, logo design, social media presence. So I'm all about visuals, building something that, gets your ideal market, gushing and loving and very attracted to that, and so basically that's what I do. I work with creative businesses, small businesses, and, creative campaigns as well.
Nice. I love it. And your stuff is amazing.
Thank you.
So beautiful, so eye-popping, modern. I love to see women beautiful. I love to see women doing their thing, but like really embracing their creative side and being true to what's authentic to them. So I love that much about you. So what did you do? Awesome. What was your 9 to 5 job? What did you do before you did the Britney Jeanine?
Girl, take me back there, Lord. My background is in public relations and communications. I actually have my master's in PR communications.
Wow.
And so I was in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's heavily populated with government contracts, right? So I worked a lot with different, I guess you could say, government entities. So that's U.S. Army, Department of Defense, Department of Air Force. Yeah, the fun stuff, right? building strategies and communication strategies that helped him achieve program goals in a sense. So that sort of was my day to day.
Okay.
So I was in the Pentagon. I would have times when I got to go to the White House.
Wow.
Just really cool, different things. But not as cool as what I'm doing now, but so that was my full time.
So what made you finally say, like, what were you thinking to the point where you were like, because it sounds like you had a lot, really cool, exciting things happening in your 9 to 5 that most people don't have the opportunity to do, to go to the Pentagon and go to the White House and be around, political, high, important figures. But what made you say, this is not for me. This is not what I really want to do.
To be honest with you, I felt as though, I was at a standstill. I didn't feel my growth. I felt my creative energy sort of being caged in a sense.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and I had no outlet, and it really got frustrating in a sense. Sometimes in corporate world, you want to bring forth your creative ideas and the innovation and all the exciting things, but you have to get approval. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of approval. Like, I'm ready to just do me, And so I think it's the frustration ultimately that got me to say, like, Britney, what can you do so that you don't have to feel like this, so that you don't have to be frustrated? And honestly, to be totally real with you, Tamisha, I was that girl sneaking in the corner, working on her business, on the job, and I was like, this is so tacky. Like, I'm over here taking business calls, sitting at somebody else's desk. Like, that's ridiculous. So I just got to a point where I was like, no more. Like, what can you do to, like, get out of this situation?
So how long was it that you said to yourself, okay, I know this is not what I want to do, but most of us, we make that decision when we're like, yo, this is not my life. Like, this is whack. Like you said, because I've been there, going into private offices when nobody was in there to take, coaching calls, like, and trying to set up everything around these little pockets of times where I could sneak and do stuff. But you still have to say, okay, did you take the plunge? Did you just say, you know what? I'm jumping in, or did you wait? Like, how long was it that you said, this is what I want to do, till you actually did it?
I guess you could say there's a mix, because there was like sort of a plunge mixed with a little bit of planning, right? And so I had those feelings that I just mentioned before, and I told my husband, like, babe, like, what can I do? Like, how can I get out of this? And he said, listen, I support you. And once he said that, I was like gung-ho. Like, I was walking in the job like, I'm Britney Jeanine. Like, what are you going to say about it? So after he gave me that sort of approval to say, like, I got your back, you can do this. I walked in, I would have say, like, July, let's just say it was like July 1st. I wrote my letter. I lied because I did it on my birthday, July 7th.
Wow.
I submitted my letter on July 7th.
Okay.
But I wanted to be professional, so I wanted them to get somebody in enough time that they could hire so that I could train, right?
Okay.
And so I left on August 15th. So
wow.
It was like the feeling that I had, wrote a letter in a week, and then left in, like, I guess you can say, a month and some time.
That's really cool. July. I didn't know you were a July baby. See, that's why
Cancers
I love you
in the
so
house.
much. See, I'm not a Cancer. I'm a Leo, but I am a July.
You're right
baby.
after me, though.
I am. So we still got that vibe. So that was cool that you had the support of your husband. That means so much, because when The Rock has your back, you know what I'm saying? You have that foundation at home, and you like, I can do this. I know so many people that want to do it, but their partners or their spouses, they're like, you better not quit your job. So you don't have that support for somebody. When you got, like, my parents, they support, but they don't believe in, quitting your job to do something like business coaching or, branding or photography. They're like, that's not a sustainable job. So that's not, to me, like, they'll support. But at the end of the day, they're not in my immediate household. So that doesn't affect the decision. But when you got everybody in the house on board, that really makes a difference. But you still have a lot of this earpiece keeps coming out. You still have a lot of fears that come in to play. So were you doing web design? Were you doing photography? What exactly were you doing right before you decided to jump into it full-fledged? Did you know what you wanted to do?
For myself?
For yourself.
So I was doing, majority at the time, I was doing photography, and little by little, I was stepping into the whole graphic and web world.
Okay.
And so I wanted to really build that even more. So I knew that I couldn't do it if I was still maintaining a full-time job. And so you can say, for the most part, I was doing majority, 80% photography, and then kind of design and things was like the side, the
Okay.
side
You're
part of my
right.
business. And then once I was able to kind of step forward, that kind of changed. So now like the photography is like the 20%.
And
And
now
then,
the
yeah, the part that I wanted to grow did grow.
and that's the thing. We start something and then it expounds into something else. And you didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
imagine that that was going to be the majority of your business coming through the web design and the graphic
Not at
design and
all.
all that stuff. And so beautiful and amazing. But so what were some of the fears that you had? Like, did you have any fears and did you have any hesitations? Like talk to me about some of those.
I don't think that you would be human if you didn't have
Yeah.
those fears, right? You get a check every 2 weeks. Every other Friday, I could expect that check to
That's
hit my
right.
bank account, and I was straight, And I never like to talk about salary or anything like that, but I was making close to 6 figures, and to walk away from that,
Yes.
I was like, "Girl, you're loony. Like, what are you thinking?" So I think the fear of the security that I had, figuring out, how I'm going to switch myself, my daughter, and all of us into my husband's health plan, and just those real life things that you have to go through. That was scary.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I think we all should. I think if we were human, we all would have that fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that, it wasn't. I never had a fear of I can't do this or, I'm, 5 years from down the road, I'm going to be like back at, I never had those thoughts, but I did feel like, gosh, Britt, you're not going to have a paycheck every 2 weeks. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that is so scary. I think for me, that was one of the biggest fears. And when you really sit and think about it, I mean, we're worrying and fearing about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. And that's really stating how confident you feel in yourself and your ability to do things. Because after a while, I was like, okay, but if I'm so worried about getting a check, that's up to me. Like, I got to make that money come in. So if I'm not doing my job, then I won't get paid. So I dictate that. And once that clicked for me personally, that's when I was like, I can do this. But that for me was definitely one of my fears, knowing that you had that. It's a false sense of comfortability, if you will, because you rely on that check no matter what. You can, BS at work all day long, but you're going to get that check.
I know that's right. See, right now, if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Exactly. So you didn't have, or should I say, was there any type of breaking point for you, or were you just like, you know what, I'm done? Like, did you have like something happen in your life? Was it your daughter? Like, when did you leave your job?
I can say, working where I was, I had a director that was a micromanager. And oftentimes I felt like, again, like I said, my creativity was kind of pushed to the side,
Right.
It was disregarded. And I just didn't like that feeling anymore. I just said to myself that I'm better than this. And I think that's where my frustration started to build. And when I wanted to go talk to my husband. So I can say, and I can thank that director gladly now, that she gave that feeling to me to say like, Brittany, you can do more.
Right. Exactly. That's amazing. So tell me about the day that you quit, because that day that you finally like given your letter, oh my God, that feeling, you build up to this like moment when you're like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Am I going to stand like this? Am I going to sit down? Like, I know for me, I went through so many emotions. Like, what is this day going to be like for me? Am I going to go through with it? So tell us, how was the day that you actually gave in your notice?
Well, I have 2 days. So I have the day that I gave my notice, and then obviously the day that I actually walked out and was like, okay, I don't come back to work next week, right? So the day I gave my notice, it was my birthday. So for me, it felt like it was like a celebration of self.
Nice.
You know, I felt like liberated. I felt free. I felt like, oh my God, did you really just do this?
Yes.
I did have folks at my job that were like, well, what's your plan? How much money, do you have money saved? Do you, and they were asking a lot of questions. And I think sometimes, especially in those older generations, they don't understand it. So they're like, so you're literally going to walk away from this job and you're going to work a photography in a sense, because that's really what I was doing at the time, photography business, and people are going to hire you to do photography and you're going to be able to pay your bills the same way, So they had all of those questions. But ultimately on that day when I gave my letter, it was like, Brittany, you freed yourself. Now go, girl, do your thing, make some magic, meet some awesome people. So that feeling was awesome. Then you have the day fast forward when I'm actually walking out of the office and I'm like, oh my God, I just quit. I just left my job.
Right.
So awesome that I had clients at that time that believed in me, and I had some folks on the book so I could at least look to a little bit of time, but it just felt great. My husband took me out to dinner, and it was just it just felt good,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an amazing thing. I can tell you, and you already know what that feeling looks like, but that build up, and then when it finally happens, it's just like this weight. It's just kind of lifted off your shoulders. It's like, I did that. And you feel good about yourself.
And you kind of hear like theme music in your head.
Yeah, you're like, let me tell you something. I remember when I told my manager, she was just staring at me. I was like, are you okay? Do you need a minute to process this? She was like, wow, I don't know what to say. And she just kept looking at me, and she was like, you just look so free right now. I was like, I am. It was just that moment, like, I'm finally taking control of my life. So I love to hear other people's stories about that day, because the jitters leading up to that day, and then it happens and you're like, oh, wow. It just gives you this, like, it empowers you and gives you this battery in your back. Like, if I can handle this, which I've just conquered, I can take on anything. So what would you say now, having done this, how long have you been, if you don't mind sharing, how long was the transition between you leaving your job and now you doing your business full time?
So I've been full time since August 2014. So it's been a year and a half.
Yeah, nice. Amazing. And your business has grown to new heights and done amazing things. And see what happens when you can put all yourself into your business now.
And you're not sneaking around the corner.
Exactly. Exactly. So now, Britney, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's kind of in the same situation? They have their business that they're sneaking around in the office. They really want to go for it full time, but they're having fear. So what advice would you give somebody like that?
Well, there's two ways. Of course, I'm a faith-driven woman. So I have something that's faith-based, but ultimately, you have to have a plan. See, for me, it doesn't work that way all the time for folks to just say, hey, I'm just going to do this, and you have people that support you and all that. You have to put a plan in place, your 6 month, your year, your 2, 5, 10, like, what is your plan down the road? Where do you want to grow your business? And so put that plan in place, because sometimes you write it out, and that's sort of putting it out into the universe, and making sure that it comes into fruition. And then also to have faith in that, what you've built and what you've dreamt for yourself is really going to happen if you put in that effort. And so I would just say plan and just believe in it. Believe in God, that God's going to, girl, I just get like, whoo, God is, don't let me catch the spirit of you now. That God is going to just, see you through, and he's going to have your back. So I'll leave it at that.
Nice. You've come. I know that we covered pretty much everything. So if there's something specific that you want to know that we didn't cover, then you can ask that. But, overall, I just asked her what advice would she give, somebody. And of course, we're all about the faith and trusting in God and trusting in yourself. Really, that's what it's all about. If you got those two things, you believe in yourself and your abilities to do certain things, and you believe in the higher power that he's going to carry you and see you through, then you can't lose.
Right.
Now, I'm quite sure she asked this question. What was it? What was your breaking point that made you say, this is it?
Yeah, she did ask me that. And basically I explained to her, I had a micromanaging director who, discounted my creativity. Any ideas that I brought to the table sort of were like not good enough. And I felt to myself like, Britt, you're better than this. Why are you seeking approval from her or, people in this organization? And so I said to myself, look, talk to your husband, get the approval, come back and give them the deuces. Like, that's kind of how I felt.
Right. Absolutely. And that's how it works. People are so afraid. Well, first of all, let's just address you working somewhere, and let's just say if they allowed you to be creative, it's actually a blessing in disguise that they didn't allow you to do that, because technically what happens is when you are allowed to be creative, they own that intellectual property of that creativity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's something, that a lot of people don't know. Well, it's in their handbooks. I'm quite sure people don't read that, but nevertheless, it's just great. My situation was a little bit different where, I worked in banking and finance for years, for about 17 years. And, I started young, and, and it was a situation where, I almost literally died at work, from stress, working there for over 17 years, and then all of a sudden someone is trying to write me up, and I'm like, write me up? I've been there all these years, and now, but they would, I guess they were trying to get rid of me or whatever they were trying to do, and I got so irate to the point where my blood pressure skyrocketed.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up I went to the nurse there, and they were like, they looked at me like the Grim Reaper was behind me. And they pretty much sent me home. So I went to my doctor, and I said, you know what? He told me I need some time out of here. And then I just started to evaluate things. And ironically, I found out there were so many things that they weren't benefits that they weren't giving me that I was that was supposed to be allocated to me, like 3 extra weeks of vacation time. I found out that they had over 8 weeks of vacation that I never got. So it was just a ridiculous situation. And
that's insane.
Yeah, and I know about the micromanaging, being at work, not trying to look busy and all of this foolishness. It's just a waste of time.
Like, I got so quick at the quick minimize, like minimize.
Oh, yes. Yes, I had quick minimize on lock. You understand me? I would be like, I hear a sound, I'm out. I mean, I knew how to maneuver that computer so well because I was doing so many things.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times that I got caught out there, and I knew how to, finagle it, but I was so pissed off with myself because I'm like, you shouldn't be, you gotta be, not that I shouldn't be doing it because I had to, but I was like, you slipping, you left that screen up, you wasn't supposed to leave that screen up, but you got it. It gets to a point where it's just too much, but I think what's the biggest thing for everybody out there to kind of understand, and you get it, is your mindset has to be in the right place. Because if your mindset is not in the right place to go to exactly what you said earlier, which is trusting God and trusting yourself, if you don't have those two backings to say, okay, I can do this,
right,
you will let everybody else around you talk you out of taking this next step. And, look how far you've come in your business, over the past year and a half, right. And it's just like thinking back to everything that you've accomplished for yourself, like that's something major. Like you were doing big things for, politicians and, big boys up top in DC, but now you're doing this for yourself. That gratification is just something that cannot ever be replaced.
And one of the things that we always talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship is it just creates this level of freedom that you can't put a price tag on.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the biggest thing. If you're in a situation where you're working somewhere that you don't like the job, it takes away your freedom, it takes away your self-expression, it takes away your peace of mind, a change has to happen. And, and again, there's so many individuals, that allow themselves to be mentally, in a mental penitentiary, for the lack of a better word,
right? And
they're mentally enslaved, and they are allowing this to happen. I mean, it's a lot of different things that when you're alluding to the mindset. A lot of it is hereditary, meaning in terms of how we were brought up, in terms of money is the root of all evil.
Oh,
you better be happy. You better be happy to just have a job. I mean, it's good to be grateful for what you have because you have to start from somewhere. But in essence, it comes to a point where you have to, you just have to put your foot down and take a stand for your freedom in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I didn't ask you, and I know this because I don't know this, but I know from just watching your business and, watching you and loving everything that you do, but we kind of skimmed over this a little bit, but, just overall, what have you, and your business been able to do since you left your job back in July or August
awesome.
of last year?
First off, I already said, I started in just one entity where I was just majority doing photography. And then I was able to now focus more so on the brand styling piece. And so that part of my business has truly evolved. And it really has been like the bread and butter ultimately, and so not having to like sneak around and then finally get home when you get the time. Now I'm tired. I can't give it my all because I'm tired from working all day.
Right.
But building that component of my business has really taken me to the next level. In addition, I'm able to now travel, and go to different conferences and meet these types of people that also, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Right.
And so I've been able to do that and talk with the people. I hate it when I would be at work and I'm like, God, I really want to be at this conference. And then I get stalking the Instagram tags and all this stuff because you can't go. But now I have the freedom to say, look, I'm about to buy my flight and I'm going to make sure that I'm in the room, And so this would go on forever, like all the freedom that you get from working for yourself,
right.
But ultimately, like just being able to give my business my all has just in this year and a half, like I'm able to look at my numbers and say, wow, Britt, you make more than what you made when you worked for someone else.
Wow.
And so that's like you said earlier, it's priceless. Like
it is.
I can't even explain it almost sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it resonating through your smile. And part of what we're doing is we want people to experience this freedom. I mean, it's just, again, you just can't put a price tag on just being able to do what you want. Now, I mean, we know the caveat is you got to work, but that's fine. But what we believe in is, why not be fully accountable for your life? And let's face it, everybody's not built to be entrepreneurs. Sadly enough, that was a hard pill for me to swallow, but everybody's not built for that. So I get that. But at the same time, there are people that are built for it, but it's just certain roadblocks or blind spots in their way. And that's some of the things that we're doing at, Quit Your 9 to 5 and, also sharing success stories like yours, to let people know that, hey, listen, we're regular people just like you and me, and I hate to be that person. I hate when people say, well, if I can do it, anybody can. I hate talking that way. Listen, let's just get it done. Let's take deliberate action. There are going to be circumstances that you're going to run through. It's an up and down roller coaster, but it's still a freedom journey that you can't describe in words,
Right.
Yeah. And people make excuses, but the reality is you can do it if you want to. But sometimes people need a push. They need to see that other people that look like them, that are like them has done it. And here, everybody just didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to quit. And then $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 were just sitting on their doorstep the next day. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into creating a business, but that gratification that you get afterwards is just indescribable.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate you. That was amazing.
I'm excited to see this movement and watch all the other podcasts. I'm just excited.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited. I'm excited too. And I'm really happy that you took the time to share your story. That gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you and our listeners to learn a little bit more about you. And what you said is so empowering. It's going to help so many people. So I really, really do appreciate you doing this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Quit Your 9 to 5 podcast with your hosts, Tamisha and Damian Duncan. We'll catch you next time.